Thank you all for being here today. Um, Councilmember Harris, Commissioner Perrin, you want to come up? Um, is I don't see RTS. Oh, Tom here. Okay, I was looking for Corinda. All right, good, good. Well, Tom. Okay, Tom. That's right, Tom. Breed. Good seeing you. Good seeing you. Great to be here today. Let's get that sound down a little bit. Um, I'm joined by numerous folks here, including some folks that aren't standing up here, but our fire chief, uh, Stefano Napolitano, is here. I think is Dave Smith. Did I see Dave? Dave Smith, Chief. This is your fire station. Why don't you come up here, please? Um, I want to thank Council President Miguel A. Melendez Jr., Vice President Lachey D. Harris, Council Member Mitch Gruber, Council Member Bridget Monroe, Tom Fries. Is Tom here? Tom Fries from DOT. Tom. Regional Transit Service Public Information Officer Tom Breed. Reconnect Rochester Executive Director Mary Starpoli. I don't think I missed anybody else. If I did, we have many folks that are here, and we are here. We were here 2 years ago at this very same spot pleading for safer driving in the city after 19-year-old Jared Jones was killed at a nearby intersection while riding his bike. And in fact, just a little while ago, I spoke to Jared's dad. And we're still looking for information and tips on what happened that August 3rd night back August 3rd, 2022, when Jared was taken from us while riding his bike. And we're here today dealing with yet another heartbreaking fatal collision that occurred on Monday, almost near the exact same intersection where Jared was killed. Also on Monday, or it may have been Tuesday, on Clifford Avenue, two bicyclists were hit while riding their bikes. Both of these incidents and many others like this were completely avoidable. And that's why it's urgent that we do everything we possibly can to address this problem. And that's why we are becoming a Vision Zero city. Becoming a Vision Zero city is a major deal. There's only one other Vision Zero city in New York State, and that's in New York City. So today's announcement marks a turning point. Today we're announcing that the city of Rochester is becoming a Vision Zero city that will work to eliminate traffic fatalities and severe injuries among road users while increasing safe and equitable mobility for all. Rock Vision Zero is not just a goal, it is a commitment to ensuring that every individual can move safely throughout our city, whether they are walking, cycling, or using public transportation. Vision Zero was founded on the belief that traffic deaths are not inevitable. Through strategic planning, community engagement, and innovative solutions, we can create streets that are safe for everyone. We are adopting a data-driven approach that will enable us to identify high-risk areas, implement targeted interventions, and measure our progress over time. Too many of our residents have been affected by traffic crashes, especially our pedestrians. There have been 98 fatalities in the city of Rochester from 2018 to 2022, and we are still compiling the data from 2023. So think about that. In that short time period, 98 fatalities just in the city of Rochester alone. That does not count Monroe County. Each statistic represents a person, a member of our community, whose life has been altered or lost due to preventable collisions. And as the weather warms up, sadly, these numbers will most likely rise. Residents have the right to move about freely, to walk their dogs, take trips to the corner store, jump on their bikes, or head out with the family to a park or trail without fear of crossing the street or sharing the road. Now, I will tell you, I'm an elected official. And when my son was little, we took swim lessons at the old YMCA. We used to have Ys in the city. There was one on Monroe Avenue. And I was so scared of crossing the street as a grown man with a newborn baby who was taking these swimming classes that I was scout parking that was on the same side of the building, because parking was crazy over there, on the same side of the street, so I would not have to cross the street carrying a little baby, a diaper bag, and all of his swim things. Why? Because down Monroe Avenue, people thought they could go, and they still think they can go, 80 miles per hour. That should not be. That should not be a regular occurrence. And a grown man or a senior citizen or a child or no one in this community should have to make plans because they're scared or afraid of crossing the street. That's not normal, that's not natural, and it's not what we want to have in Rochester. So Rock Vision Zero is more than just a set of policies. It's a cultural shift. It's about fostering a mindset that prioritizes human life above all else. It's about recognizing that no loss of life is acceptable and that we must do everything in our power to prevent tragedies from occurring on our streets. As I always like to say, and I know people are tired of me saying it, it's we, not me, and we rely on our partnerships. So to achieve this vision, we will work closely with community stakeholders, transportation experts, law enforcement agencies, and residents from every corner of our city. Now I'd like to have Council President Miguel Melendez take the podium to say a few words about what Vision Zero means to him and to City Council. And then followed by that will be the guy that's kind of been running point on this for City Council, Mitch Gruber, who has been working very closely on this. So first, Council President Miguel A. Melendez Jr.
Well, this is an exciting announcement this afternoon. First and foremost, I want to acknowledge all of those that have been victims or have suffered, families who have suffered from fatal or pedestrian accidents that have occurred in our city. As council president, I'm focused on safer neighborhoods, quality housing, and access to equitable opportunities for all. And under safer neighborhoods, one of the things that I hear as I go citywide, whether it's Lake Avenue, Park Avenue, Genesee Street, Clinton Avenue, is pedestrian safety, speeding. Those types of issues are front of mind for many neighbors across our community. And this Vision Zero plan is the start of a commitment. We know that it's going to take time. It's going to take many deliberations amongst council members. And certainly it's going to take the community buying in to all of the strategies and opportunities to change the culture around driving and reckless driving in our community. But if we're going to achieve safer neighborhoods, it's going to require all of us to be in. And I would like to commend my council colleagues who are here today, who made this a priority as part of our pact, but also specifically Councilmember Gruber, who has worked over the last year or so tirelessly to put forward a process and a plan to move us forward. So with that, thank you all. Look forward to the work ahead.
Thank you. Councilmember Gruber?
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to start off with a statistic. Rochester has the highest overall crash rate per capita, the highest overall rate of fatalities per crash per 100,000 residents of any mid-sized city in New York. From 2017 to 2021, we had 47,000 crashes. And all of these stats come from the city's active transportation plan that was put out 2 years ago, Commissioner, I believe, 1 year ago, which I really encourage people to read. It is the foundation for what we're talking about today. Those are the stats. We all see it regularly when we drive. We all probably feel it. I want to share a story about how I feel it personally. December 2022, a good friend of mine, a colleague, Edgar Santa Cruz, one of the finest and most well-known social workers in Rochester, was walking his dog on Park Avenue when he was struck by a car that was running a red light. Edgar was walking down the crosswalk with a green light. Someone ran the light, hit him and his dog, and they were both tragically killed. So many people, if you think about it, 47,000 crashes, so many people here right now, other people you're going to hear from in this room right here at this station, and so many people in this community have felt and know people who have been victims. For me, when Edgar died, I couldn't help but think what could have been done differently. Was it something about the street design? Was it a drunk driver? What was going on? And the reality is this was a reckless driver who did not believe there are consequences for his actions. And unfortunately, this is a trend that we're seeing not just locally, but nationally across the board. We are seeing higher rates of fatalities in cars, by cars, I should say, across the country. And of course, there's tons of reasons for this, right? Bigger cars, distracted drivers. But in my mind, and so much of the data suggests that one of the core reasons is that in a post-COVID world, we see a lot less traffic enforcement. There is simply less enforcement. So I went down the rabbit hole of thinking through what are the ways that we could think through enforcement more creatively in this community to be fair, to be just, and most importantly, to be about changing behavior and not about being a cash grab for the municipality. And I want to thank some people here, Eric, Bill, Mary, so many people from Reconnect, but Adam Smith, Levine Ford, Mayo Cortez. These are people who I made a small work group and started working through what would we want to see out of enforcement? How could we do it justly? How could we do it so that it was equitable? And I want to give Reconnect a lot of credit. They convinced me after developing what I thought was a pretty good foundation for this, that it should be a part of a larger platform of Vision Zero. And they were having the same conversations with Mayor Evans and Commissioner Parent. And I want to commend those teams. I want to commend the mayor and the commissioner for putting together an incredible plan here that lists 10 points. You'll all see in the booklet, a 10-point plan that allows the community to hold us accountable, us as policymakers. What can we do to make our city safer? Some things are huge. Some things are aspirational. Other things are stuff that we should be working on immediately, like reducing speed limits across the city. This plan is going to allow us to make safer streets for everybody. For walkers, for bikers, for drivers, for bus riders. And it's our job as a city government to do that. And I'm so grateful to have people like the folks from Reconnect and so much support from City Council and the Evans administration to make it happen. So I look forward to folks seeing the plan and holding us accountable to make our streets safer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Gruber, and thank you for mentioning Edgar. He was beloved from Cameron community, from Food Link. This was a guy that was really doing God's work and whose life was tragically taken away senselessly, as far as I'm concerned. It was senseless. And we have two council members who have very powerful stories of how these things affected members of their families. So I want to call up Lachey D. Harris just to share a few words about this overall, but how it affected her. And then I'm going to call up Bridget Monroe, who represents this district that we're in, one of the busiest, toughest streets that we're on in terms of Lake Avenue as it relates to traffic fatality. So the first voice you'll hear will be our Council Vice President, Lachey D. Harris, and then our Northwest Council Representative, Bridget Monroe, who both have very powerful personal stories about why this Vision Zero is so important. And I think that their stories from which you'll hear are reflective of so many other people within our community. So Vice President Harris and then Councilmember Monroe.
Thank you, Mayor. This really affects me in such a way where I'm very happy to hear that there's intentional, strategic approach to us doing it together to correct the speeding problem and the traffic problem in this community. In 2021, on May 10th, I lost my great uncle. His name was Milton Harris. He was a pillar of the 19th Ward community. He did a lot for our community, and he was parked in a parked car on Genesee Park Boulevard waiting for his crew because he was the guy that came through the neighborhood, cutting the lawns, taking care of the neighborhood, and that's what he did as his retirement job. And he also supported many of our elders in the 19th Ward community. And someone came down, speeding down Genesee Park Boulevard, and not only were they speeding, they were drinking and driving, and they killed my dear uncle. But he was not just a dear uncle. He was someone that was taken from our community, a supportive person to the community association, to the neighborhood service center, to the folks that he served in our community. And now we don't have him. And it's just a tragedy because he still could have been here to this day because he was vibrant in what he was doing and in the work. So I think about that I have been touched. I'm a council person, but there are many other folks out here that have been touched with very similar stories. And let's not forget our motorcyclists that also have to deal with reckless driving. People are not paying attention to the motorcyclists that's driving appropriately, and they're law-abiding motorcyclists. Let's not forget those. And I just really am very happy that this city, in collaboration with partners, our mayor, we have a cohesive effort to do something about all the recklessness that's been going on without the enforcement. We're doing it in an intentional way, and that's what's important. And then most importantly, we're doing it together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Monroe.
Hello, my name is Bridget Monroe, and I'm the Northwest District City Council member. I want to repeat Vice President Lachey Harris's notion that we're doing this intentionally and it's going to be cohesive. I recently joined council, but I'm very excited about this Vision Zero plan and people having to be people having to be responsible for their actions. For my personal experience, and here's my desire as part of this plan to finally get the bus arm cameras. My son was hit on Dewey Avenue on September 28th, 2021, getting off of a school bus that had flashing lights. The arm was out. There were 2 cars queued up behind that bus. But one woman decided that didn't apply to her. She had someplace more important to go. So she went around those cars going at what the police said was probably 40 to 45 miles per hour. And as my son stepped out from that school bus, he was hit. And she left the scene. My son's head cracked her windshield, left his blood and his hair, and she continued to go on while he was left laying in the middle of the street. Thankfully, he's alive. Thankfully, there were people around, the majority of us who are caring, law-abiding people who know that driving a car is not a right, it's a privilege. That's why you have to get a license for it. People stopped. Even an off-duty firefighter from the engine house right there on Dewey Avenue came to my son's aid as well. And they made sure that all the traffic was stopped. They helped him to the side of the road. And then I was called. All of this is to say that what's happening with the traffic and the reckless driving is abhorrent. And the people who think that they can do these things and have no consequences, people who think that they can hit people and run. It's a despicable, despicable crime. I'm looking forward to moving forward with Vision Zero, and I hope that all of us from this will go the speed limit. I was coming here from Maplewood today. I went 35 miles per hour up Lake Avenue, like it is noted, the whole way, and not a single car stayed behind me. Everyone went around and rushed on up Lake Avenue illegally. So I thank you all for being here today and listening to my story and my son's. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember Monroe and Councilmember Harris. These are powerful stories. And we're here on Lake Avenue because you can get People's Exhibit A. You could have just turned your camera a second ago. You had evidence of a car that didn't want to wait an extra 30 seconds, so it just decided to speed up. So Rock Vision Zero work will include developing comprehensive strategies to improve street design, enhance traffic enforcement, as you heard, educate the public, and promote sustainable transportation options. I want to be clear. Vision Zero will require dedication. It's going to require dedication and persistence. And most of all, collaboration from all of us. It's going to require that from all of us. We know that change will not come overnight. I want to be clear about that because I think sometimes elected officials, we can tell you we have these magic wands. We don't. Change won't happen overnight, but change will come. It will come. But working together, I am confident that we can create a future where every person can travel safely and freely throughout our city. And with that, I would love to have Tom Breed from RTS say a few words about their whole connection in this, and then you'll hear from Reconnect Rochester, one of our other community partners. RTS. Tom, thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mayor Evans, and everyone here for including RTS in this critical initiative for our community. I'm here today on behalf of our CEO, Miguel Velasquez, the entire RTS team, and the tens of thousands of people in this community who rely on RTS to get to work, to get to school, to get to medical appointments, and all the other vital destinations they need access to. Our mission at RTS is to provide safe, reliable, convenient, and sustainable transportation. Safety is first on that list because it's the most critical aspect of our service. Our bus operators work very hard each and every day to ensure the safety of those we serve so that they can move around our community and fulfill their daily needs. Thank you, Mayor Evans, for your leadership on raising the importance of safety on our roads and acknowledging public transit as a safe mode of transportation and being an important part of the solution in achieving the objectives of Vision Zero. We look forward to continuing our partnership with you and everyone here by making Vision Zero a reality in this community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Tom. And a group that I'm no stranger to, we regularly meet with Reconnect Rochester, an organization that's mission is all about equity in transportation. And I think Reconnect has been with me at least twice or three times a year whenever I'm talking about pedestrian safety. If it's talking about getting ready for the summer or going back to school or trying to bring attention to the fatalities that we have on the road, Reconnect has always stood with Rochester. They have always stood with Rochester, but more importantly, they have also always done the work to also ensure that we are working in a collaborative way. So I want to now ask the leader of Reconnect Rochester, their executive director, Mary Starpoli, to please come up and talk a little bit about the work of Reconnect is doing and their thoughts around Vision Zero. Mary?
Thank you. Thanks so much. Thanks for the opportunity to be part of this really momentous moment today. A lot has already been kind of cited and said about crash statistics and the disturbing trend of pedestrian and cyclist injuries and fatalities on our street that's calling us to act here today. Rochester is part of a deeply disturbing national trend. And last year, according to our unofficial records in 2023, we had a record-breaking year of 15 people killed while walking or biking within city limits. So, and then dozens more people who had their lives disrupted by life-altering injuries. We host a Monroe County crash map on our website that tells us the statistics, and at Reconnect Rochester, we spend a lot of time studying the statistics, but as we've all heard a lot of testimonial today, this is not about numbers, this is about people. And we know behind every crash, there's a person, there's a family, a whole community that suffers harm and loss. Following a serious injury or fatality, livelihoods get lost, support systems, family bonds, all of that is altered. Reconnect Rochester is incredibly proud to stand here with Mayor Evans today as he commits to Rock Vision Zero, bringing Rochester into a growing movement of over 50 American cities who have put a stake in the ground. And today, this mayor is choosing to take action to protect our citizens and to face head-on the road violence that's inflicting so much harm. We're honored to have been part of helping to shape, playing a small part in helping to shape Rock Vision Zero behind the scenes over the last year. We spent a lot of time benchmarking against what's been effective in other cities, and we are really confident that the comprehensive approach and the 10 priority actions in this plan that the city has committed to strikes the right balance of community education, road engineering, policy changes, and accountability measures. So with Rock Vision Zero, we expect that we will prove that traffic violence is preventable. We can design our streets for people and add infrastructure that will slow cars down and protect everyone on our roads, but especially the vulnerable road users, which is the people walking and biking outside a vehicle. We can educate the community and move minds and hearts with outreach initiatives that really engage people in being part of the solution and protecting each other. We can change policies and laws to make sure that they support road safety. And yes, we can hold dangerous drivers accountable when they fail to consider the results of reckless behavior that puts the lives of others at risk. I want to say that community partnerships will be a key ingredient to the success of Rock Vision Zero, and we are blessed with many passionate people and organizations who are ready, willing, and able to be part of this effort. We have advocacy organizations. Thank you very much for the soundtrack. We have advocacy organizations like Healthy Kids that have long been in this space and long advocated for safe streets, and many other strong community-based organizations like Ibero and the Urban League and Connected Communities and so many others in our neighborhoods to work with. We have community-led bike groups like Black Girls Do Bike, EE Pathways, Rock Freedom Riders, so many more who can help spread this message. And we have the 100 cyclists that came to our rally at City Hall last month, who are all fired up to support the building of a bike spine network to protect cyclists. We have crash victims and their families, a couple of whom spoke here this morning already, who have turned grief into action and can inspire others to drive more responsibly. And of course, Reconnect Rochester will always be here and be a willing community partner to help educate and inspire the community to get behind Rock Vision Zero. So the city won't do this alone, and I know Mayor Evans is really committed to engaging many people and partners in the effort. Another essential ingredient as we benchmarked other cities and successful Vision Zero efforts is the moral authority and visibility of mayoral leadership. That is a key. And we have that in Mayor Evans, and we're extremely grateful for that. And we're also fortunate to have the passion and leadership within City Hall and on City Council also to match. So have to give a shout out to Councilmember Gruber for his really relentless and dogged determination in seeing this initiative come to this day, and also Commissioner Perrin and his DES staff for being really instrumental in putting together not only this plan, but also the active transportation plan that is also a big part of the vision. And in closing, I just want to say that we can't recover the losses that we've already suffered. We can't get back Jared Jones, who lost his life down the street riding home from work on his bike. We can't get back 6-year-old R.J. Grantham Jr., who was killed, whose mother and sister witnessed his death on Thurston Road last year, and of treasured community activist Edgar Santa Cruz, and far too many others. But we can do our very best and be determined to save lives and spare future families from the suffering and pain and loss of more road violence starting today. Thank you.
Thank you. No, you're good. Thank you. Thank you very much. And again, thank you, Reconnect Rochester, who just a treasured community partner. And we're so happy to have Reconnect Rochester here. They've built communities of people who have banded together to take back our streets from the automobile. And Black Girls Do Bike has organized Rochester's Ride of Silence, which honors cyclists who have been killed or injured while cycling on public roadways. The event honors those who have lost and raises awareness that cyclists have a legal right. A legal right. Cyclists have a legal right to our public roadways. And now I'd like to have, she has one of the best last names in the world, Now, we're not related. No, we're not. But she's like my brother, my sister from another Mrs. Yes. They say your brother from another mother. You say your sister from another Mrs. So now I'd like to ask Evelyn Evans from Black Girls Do Bike, who is here on behalf of its founder, Keisha McCullough, to say a few words. Evelyn?
Thank you. Myself and Miss Barbara Edwards are here from Black Girls Do Bike. I want to give you a little bit of history about Black Girls Do Bike. It was founded in 2013 by Monica Garrison. It was a brainchild of hers to bring people together, especially women of color, to encourage them to be comrades, and to empower them to exercise and to have fun doing it. Keisha, actually started our chapter here in Rochester in 2016. We're involved in a lot of community work. As the mayor has said, the Silent Ride is one of ours. If you go to our first Facebook page, Black Girls Do Bike Rochester, you will find that the Unity Rides are also coming. We have a ride every Tuesday. We gather at 6:30. Kickstands up at 7. We also go to each segment of the city every week. So north, south, east, and west, we have a start point. Again, check the Facebook page. The information is all there. The first ride is on June 11th, next Tuesday. All are welcome, all ages, all riding abilities. The beauty about Black Girls Do Bike is you don't have to know how to ride a bike. We will help you learn. One of our members, who was like almost 60, I worked for the county for like 40 years. She did too. She never had a bike because her family had 9 children. They couldn't afford one bike. They had to have 9 bikes. She learned with Black Girls Do Bike. What I heard about some of the statistics already about Monroe County and the crashes, but the National Highway Traffic and Safety had a crash study that went from 2012 to 2001. Over 5,400 people, riders and bicyclists, were in accidents during that time. 4,400 plus had an injury or fatality. And every year, annually, Monroe County loses at least 10 or more, as somebody said 15 last year, people were killed due to crash. One of the things I want to share with you, and this is an old news story, but like I said, I worked for DHS for a long time. In 2009, we had a young caseworker, 23 years old. Her name was Bertina Ford. She was leaving the building from St. Paul Street to cross the street on her way to court, and her and a supervisor were standing next to either the other. When the light turned green, she stepped off the curb and she was ran down and killed. She worked for the department less than 2 years. Our union, the Federation of Social Workers, has something called the Human Service Worker Luncheon, which is coming up in October. Many of you have attended. We have an award named after her, and we call it the Bertina Ford Rising Star Award, because she was rising up in her career. She was new to it, but we wanted people to understand and always hear her name and understand that you simply crossing the street could make you not go home that day. The other piece, when it comes to the cycling piece, I need, in part of the education piece with our community, them to understand that the bike lane is for bikes. That's right. It is not a right turn lane. Right. I see it happen so much. My daughter, when we're driving places, and I'll say, look at them. Now, if I was on my bike, they would have ran me over. So we do have to pull this vision together. So Vision Zero is something that us in the cycling world are looking forward to 100%, and would love to partner with the city and Reconnect or whoever else to ensure our safety and that of other pedestrians. Thank you.
Thank you, Evelyn. And well said. And many of us remember that story about Bettina, because she really was a rising star. And again, another life lost senselessly for simply crossing the streets. In closing, I want to thank each of you for your commitment, everyone here, Rochester City Council, Councilman Gruber, who kind of grabbed the bull by the horns and been working on it, Councilmember Monroe, Vice President Lachey D. Harris, and of course the councilmember whose district we're in right now, Northwest Councilmember Bridget Monroe, for their steadfast leadership and commitment. There will be some things that we might have to do for council, but there's a lot of things in this book, and all of you have it, that we can start sequencing it, and some of it we can do now. And that's what we want to make sure that we do. We don't want to wait. And we want to be a model for the rest of the country. So if I'm not here, 10 years from now, and none of us may not be here. Some of you guys will be here. I won't be here. You never know. But when you have new leadership here, I want them to be able to say that, during this city council and Evans administration, they started something called Vision Zero, and we're continuing it. That's what we want. We don't want this to be something that is individual specific. And this is why I say we, not me. This isn't about the mayor or city council. That's why we have these community partners here. This is why Evelyn and Mary are so important for this, because the community has to own this plan. We want this to be a community plan. We'll do our part from City Hall in terms of any legislation or, changing the speed limits to 25. That takes work that we will be able to do. But it's the community that is going to fuel this Vision Zero. And the other thing is none of us can control the way people drive. None of us control that. But what we can do is try to influence them through education to get them to think twice, to get them to understand that the speed limit on Lake Avenue is 35, and 35 means 35. And it means up to 35. It means that you can go 25. You don't have to go 35. It means that you can go 30. But it darn sure doesn't mean that you should be going 50 or 60. And we have clocked people 50, 60, 70 miles per hour here. So I want to thank each and every one of you, all of you here, standing up here and out there for making this commitment to making Rochester a safer, more inclusive place. And together, let's turn the Vision Zero pedestrian fatalities into a reality. Zero. We want to get down to zero. And with that, I'll take any questions that you might have on topic. If anyone from the media has questions about anything that has anything to do with that has nothing to do with Vision Zero, I'm not answering from the podium. You got to get them off topic, because we really want to focus on Vision Zero today. And there's a good picture shot for you right there. Look at that bus. Nobody should pass that bus. And we're hoping to have bus arm cameras very soon on buses that are throughout the city of Rochester to make sure that no one blows through the stop sign that's on that bus like they did for Councilmember Monroe's son when they came over and hit that. So the way that bus is stopped, that's what we want. We don't want anybody walking in front of that bus. So I didn't time for that bus to be there for you guys. So you can thank me later for that nice camera shot. But with that, I'll take any questions that you might have.
So when can we expect to see, for example, 25-mile-per-hour speed limits? Days, weeks, months?
I mean, it's going to take weeks or months probably to get there, but that's a priority for me. The 25 miles per hour, obviously we'd have to confer with the county and the city and the state to see how quickly we can move on that. The biggest thing is replacing all the signs and doing all of those things in the education. But we will start to prioritize what I call the sequencing of the time frame of each one of these items, and we'll take it from there. But we're not going to let this get a lot of time on the shelf, because there are things that remember, we have an active transportation plan that's a year old that we've already been working. So in many instances, Reconnect Rochester, the city of Rochester, we've been talking about these things all along. So really today is really the launch to talk about some of these things. But some of this stuff is teed up in the can. It's just a matter of how quickly we can move to make it a reality. Some stuff may be longer, but there's stuff that might that can be done more quickly. And we want to do those things that are what I call low-hanging fruit.
Follow up to that. You guys are already working on getting bike lanes and stuff in there. Are you just expediting the timeline, or are you adding more bike lanes to your organization?
We're always looking to add, and I let the commissioner add to this. We're always looking to add more bike lanes. I don't know if you were at our huge bicycle rally. I don't think we've ever had so many bicycles outside of City Hall. But did Reconnect host that? Reconnect hosted that. It was building the spine. We're committed, as has, and I don't want to speak for the county executive, but he spoke with me there, as well as Councilmember Lachey Harris, who chairs our Recreation and Human Services Committee and our PPW Committee, of making sure that we expand the spine of bike lanes in the county, as well as the city. So we are committed to also accelerating and making sure that we create as many bike lanes as possible, in addition to the ones that we already have. There's a big education component. I think Evelyn put it best. We can have all the bike lanes we want, but if people are still driving their cars in bike lanes, that we still have a long way to do that as well in terms of the education piece. So education, enforcement, infrastructure, those are all things that we will have to ensure that we continue to work on as we roll this plan out. All right, you're kind of a journalist, but you're an opinion reporter too.
Mayor, what state authorizations required specifically for automated enforcement?
Well, the question for some of the automated enforcement, and we know this from red light cameras, we will have to get state authorization for something like traffic cameras if we didn't need that. But I'm very hopeful that we would be successful. We got a new guy that's chair of the transportation committee now, and he just got us money for multimodal. So I'm sure I don't want to speak for Senator Cooney, but I hope that he would be very supportive of any of the things that are encapsulated in Vision Zero. And part of Vision Zero, some of it is automated enforcement. And automated enforcement is important because, as Councilmember Gruber it was that I said, we're down police officers, so we don't do as much traffic enforcement as we are able to do. So automated enforcement will help us to be able to do that. And it's not as a cash grab, but to correct behavior. And one of the things we even said with bus arm cameras, which we think will be faster, which we can do now, something that Councilmember Monroe mentioned, with bus arm cameras, what we've said was we would use those dollars for education. We wouldn't use that for any other things. We would use that for traffic education. That is what we're looking for. We're not looking to pad the city's revenues. We want to do that through sales tax. We want people to go out and buy things. That's what helps us from a financial perspective. We don't want to make money off of writing tickets. We want to get to a point where we don't have to write any tickets. But what we do know is that when you get a ticket once or twice, you start to correct your behavior. And we want to see people correct their behaviors so we don't have people going around buses and have to experience what Bridget Monroe had to experience with her son, who was blessed to be alive after his head crashing through a driver who had no regard for bus safety. So there will be some things, and that might take a little bit longer. But things like bus cameras, which we've already started talking about, that could be faster in terms of prioritization. We already got the state to pass the 25-hour limit that gives cities the ability to do that. That's something that we might be able to move faster. As we look at our construction projects, we'll look at how we can do a road diet and those types of things to try to change the road. So some things can be prioritized faster than others.
Mayor, let me add one thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just on both questions, one of the key components of Vision Zero is having a committee and a report at the end of every year. So the sequencing, the prioritization, all that's going to be done by the committee, and this is work that we're going to get started on very quickly. And as for the automated enforcement, yes, it will require some level of authorization by the state, but we also have the work in front of us to do a significant amount of community engagement first, which is hopefully going to be starting as soon as possible.
Thank you. Any last questions? Just let me say again, we picked this location for a reason, because you get so many examples of people who have not gotten the education yet. This guy, he was upset. A car was stopped. You saw him. He blew his horn and then just went. Now, the speed limit here is 30. He probably went 50 down the street. But that's an example of what we're dealing with. So when we talk about enforcement, that's why we have to have enforcement, because of what you just witnessed there. And if there was a child stepping out of there, you could imagine what would happen. So I think people have had enough. They've had enough of not being able to ride their bike and cross the street without the nonsense that you just saw just 30 seconds ago. But that's an example of what we're dealing with and why we have to really lean into this Vision Zero plan. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Thank you.